We once was silent, now we wanna talk. We weren't the only ones up and down from the block. While y'all were running, we chose to walk. So welcome to another episode of Artist Block. Media, entertainment, publicity, it's all happening. My name is Imaad, and this is episode 3 of Artist Block. I'm back with Claude today.
Hello, everybody.
Be sure to follow us at Twitter and Instagram at ArtistBlockPod. And if you want to request a topic or if you want to come up here, make sure to email us at artistblockpod@gmail.com. Make sure to follow us on Soundcloud just so that you can get these episodes as soon as they come out. So, as you heard in the title track, and if you also heard in the title, we're going to be talking a lot about media. So, the main thing that I want to talk about this week was ESPN recently, not so recently, but like a couple months ago, released a fantasy football ad. So for those of you that don't know, fantasy football is a thing where you can get your friends together and then you pitch in money and then you draft players from a league. Whoever gets the most points from that league at the end of the season gets the money. Now, they released an ad in which it was kind of like an auction, which is similar to what fantasy football is. But the issue that a lot of people had and why they consider it racist is that all the players that they were holding up were all black, and all the fantasy football auctioneers, like the people who were buying, were all white. And personally, I just think like ESPN shouldn't have done this. I think right now, in terms of media and all these bigger companies, I don't know who's not looking, and I don't know if even like people who work there are colored or some way multicultural. So like, what do you think, man?
Well, in 2018, they should really try and revise and think about what they're about to put out, especially in today's era, since it's going to be publicized. Everybody, different races, different cultures and whatnot are going to be watching. So I think that they should really try and take the time to revise, think about how it will affect everyone in general, no matter what race, religion, and whatnot.
Do you think ESPN is doing this on purpose? Because I heard like this whole thing about all publicity is good publicity. So like this is starting talks about ESPN, but at the same time, it's like you're such a big company, everyone's gonna still talk about you. And I have this huge issue with like ESPN, and then I also want to talk about H&M too. Like H&M's one of those companies where, you know, with the whole coolest monkey in the jungle sweater, no one in your marketing team is looking back and being like, hey, that's wrong.
Like you said, the publicity thing, like wanting to be like, do they really want to be publicized in a good way or a bad way? Because in my opinion, this is the bad way to go about it.
The thing is with good publicity and bad publicity, it's like they're always just say, regardless of what kind of publicity it is, it's just good because people are going to talk about you. And I mean, that makes sense when it comes to, I don't know, smaller companies or even like artists like Lil Pump and all these guys. They do all these things, and regardless of how people look at them, we're still talking about them, and that's how they're getting publicity about it. That's how they're getting like free advertisements.
That is true.
And like I recently read a whole thing about how the NFL, especially the NFL, I think there's this huge issue with all these sport leagues right now on they need to realize who their players are and who's watching, because you can't just have these problems like you remember the whole Colin Kaepernick situation, right?
Yeah.
So the Super Bowl this year is projected to be at its lowest ratings of all time due to the Colin Kaepernick situation. Do you think that that's going to happen, or do you think people are still going to watch it?
Well, because the football community is fairly big, I think they'll still get their views, but maybe not as much as they expected. And now I hear they're also trying to pull in some YouTubers, like a Rice Gum apparently is going to be trying to he's collaborating with the company Monster with a Monster advertisement during the Super Bowl. Yeah. So like now they're trying to find the ways to get more, like, since they know, okay, not much people are watching TV, they're going to try and pull in some YouTubers where most of the generation now is on YouTube watching the videos, or the creators themselves have a big fan base. So they'll still get the views equivalent to if just on TV. So I think they have other means of getting their views and whatnot.
So do you think they'll still make the same amount of money as past years?
I don't really know. I think right now it's just assumptions.
Yeah, I agree with that. The NFL is like that one league that was always regarded as America's league. And once you take away America from America's league, they're done. I mean, you can hype up the Super Bowl as much as you want, but at the end of the day, there's more people watching a singular soccer game than there are watching the Super Bowl. And other leagues are much better than the NFL right now. Like, if you look at the NBA, I don't know if you heard this, but so last year the New Orleans is where the All Star game was held, right? And originally they were supposed to be holding it in Charlotte. And the reason why they didn't is because there was this new law on transgender bathrooms and how they weren't allowed to be made or whatever in North Carolina. And Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, just let go. And he's like, no, we're not doing it there. We're switching the city. That shows that they care about civil rights. Like, that shows that they care about people. And if the NFL doesn't want to do that, then they're going to have some problems. I mean, max time that I'm giving them is like a year or two to fix this and whatever. So about Colin Kaepernick, if you were a general manager right now, would you sign him?
It really depends. I think if you want the, I guess not really exposure, but maybe again back with the publicity. If you want the publicity, I guess you would sign him. But looking back at what he's done, I don't know if they're gonna look at that, and then they might, like me personally, I might consider it, but I would discuss it with others to see, okay, is this a smart move or whatnot.
So let's say it was up to you, and you look at Colin Kaepernick, and he can play for you. Like, he's not going to be the best quarterback in the league, but would you just sign him based off of the whole situation right now?
I would sign him. I would try to sign him based off of his skills and what he's done, like in games and whatnot.
So then you wouldn't care about the whole civil rights thing?
I guess I wouldn't because it would be beneficial to the team, and it would help them get the wins, help with the skills and whatnot. So I think I would try and look past that and look mainly at his skills and what is he doing on the field.
Mm. I personally, the reason why I would sign him is because right now, if the NFL doesn't do something about it, they're going to have issues. And I think you're right in the sense that if they do sign him, then that team will always be regarded as, oh, you just signed him because of whatever. And this whole thing happened before with the NBA. I don't know if you heard it, but Jason Collins was like the first openly homosexual basketball player. And he was not up to par. He was not like a good enough player to be in the NBA. But a team signed him just because of the whole situation. And I don't know if Colin Kaepernick, from what I've heard, he's not the best quarterback. From what I've heard, you could get away with not signing him and it's fine. But I think one team should sign him because there's no other way that they're gonna fix this situation. Like, how else do you think the NFL is gonna bounce back from this?
I don't really know. I think what you summed it up pretty well right there. A team would have to take them just to cover. I would say cover up, not really solve, because at the end of the day, nobody's really gonna solve the problem. They're just gonna try and hide it, forget about it, keep it under wraps.
Yeah. Do you think players should be allowed to have this kind of movements or like civil rights or even like kneeling during the national anthem? Do you think players should be allowed?
Yeah, it shows their rights, their shows their stance, how they see the political problems and whatnot. So I think they should be allowed to, and especially if it's beneficial and it's eye opening to the rest of the world, I definitely think they should be allowed to.
But here's the thing. When you're working for someone, you are now representing the views of your employer. If you look at news stations and stuff, if I was working for CBC and I made this podcast over there, I can't say certain things because now I'm representing CBC unless I'm a vendor and I'm just like selling my content. But I have to cater to them. So in my opinion, I agree with the fact that you should stand up for these things, but at the same time you can't express your political views because you're representing the views of whatever team that you're playing for. At the end of the day, you are not selling just your talents, you're selling yourself. You are now an employee of that team. And that's the way that I look at it.
Mm, Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it actually. That's an interesting perspective I could say, but do you think that so what you're saying is that basically your rights when you join a team or if you join like a company, it on you're not allowed to I guess you could say express them, especially if it'll hurt the company.
Yeah, I mean, remember last week, or sorry, 2 weeks prior to today, we talked about Disney, right? And their publicity, you can't just say whatever you want if you work for Disney. And that's the same with the sports team. At the end of the day, you're just because you're an athlete doesn't mean you're not employed. You know, you're still being employed by a team. You still represent the views of that team. And I think right now with this whole digital world thing, you don't know what's trolling, what's not, whatever. People have to set rules on this, on whether or not you're allowed to do that. I think the whole kneeling in the national anthem thing, it's fine. Go ahead. You know, make your protest. I personally just stopped watching the NFL because of that. Because of the whole situation. Because I'm like, I'm just not going to support them. But at the same time, you have to realize that you're part of a team. And again, like I said this many times right now, right? I just keep repeating myself. You're employed. You're an employee of their views. And so another thing that I want to talk about, which is like going on that ESPN thing. So I'm not sure if you know her, but Jamel Hill, she's a black female broadcaster for ESPN. And she got suspended for 2 weeks for calling Donald Trump a white supremacist. Do you think that was justified?
I don't think so because at the end of the day, it was still her opinion, and Donald Trump is the guy who wouldn't really take that to heart. He's not really offended. He lets whatever anybody says. He does that doesn't affect him. At the end of the day, he's still president. At the end of the day, he's still making the decisions in the office. I think there would have been a better way to handle that situation, in my opinion.
What would there be?
I would say, how long is she suspended? Like forever or like
No, she got
2
suspended
weeks?
for 2 weeks and then now she's back.
Oh, she's not.
No, that's the last thing that I heard.
Well,
I can check that.
yeah, I think that was a fairly soft punishment, I guess you could say. Not as, I guess, extreme as you would think would happen.
Because if you think about it, she should have been honestly. If you compared this, oh yeah, she still works for ESPN.
Your line. Oof.
Sorry, my recording stopped for a second. I'll fix
Oh.
that. Okay, so Jamel Hill. If you compare this to the Barack Obama era, and you had a white broadcaster say that Obama is not, or whatever, right? Calls him in some derogatory way, he would have been fired on the spot.
That's true. That's true.
And that's why I think Jamel Hill, I don't really think she merits the rights to just be suspended for 2 weeks. Because she's not representing the views of ESPN. That's not your platform.
Mm-hmm.
And she can make her own platform. She has her Twitter, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just, and she said that on air. Think about that.
On air.
Yeah. Live television. And you can't just go around doing that because the whole issue with being on air, or the whole thing with being on air, is now you are going towards an audience. You can't just say whatever you want. Especially if you work for ESPN. That it's a sports analyst company. We don't want to hear about your political views.
I think that was well said. You got me there. That was when you said if a white guy was like talking bad or saying like a racial slur about Barack Obama. Yeah, I think he would have actually got, or maybe in serious punishment. But I don't know if he would definitely get fired. But for sure, I think he would have got more of a punishment than she did. And so that really makes me think, like, was it really just of her punishment? Like, was it fair?
So what do you mean by that? Do you think what do you think would be the best step for Jamel Hill right now?
I think she should. Did she apologize yet or anything?
Yeah, she apologized and everything, but I mean now she's back working at ESPN. Do you think she should just stay at ESPN, or what do you think?
Well, I think she should stay since she already got back into the work. If maybe she needed time to, like, after the 2 week suspension, right? If she didn't come back or if she wanted to leave, I think that would have been the best option. But since she already came back, to leave now, it would be really weird. And then there was be no point of her actually getting a suspension for only 2 weeks since she wasn't going to come back, right? Might as well she just got fired in the first place.
Yeah, but I feel like she wants her own platform at this point. You can tell, like, if you're gonna be standing up for civil rights, just go on your own thing. And she's so well revered by Americans and everything, especially like the black community. She'd be fine if she just left and made her own thing. So if you were Jamel Hill and you have all the support for you, and ESPN just suspended you for 2 weeks for speaking your opinion, would you leave?
Yeah, I would leave definitely. If I have the support, the platform, the enough to at least get started. Because once you get started, I think it would be easier for you to bring in the views, the I guess supporters and whatnot. But like if you started from scratch, I don't know if that would have been a smart decision to leave.
Yeah, I don't really think it is either. So about this whole H&M thing, it's pretty old by the time that this is gonna go up, but
Shout out to Amos Turner for
topic.
giving us the topic, I guess you could say.
And man, I can't even. There's just been so much spoken about it, and it's like I don't know if anything happened to anybody that worked at H&M. And I think the issue with the internet, and here's my beef with the internet, they're always just gonna find something to complain about. We've already established that. And just because the situation has gone away doesn't mean that you can just let it go. People are still gonna shop at H&M. Nothing is gonna happen to them. And they're giving out like what 80% off sale. Like, is that enough?
Well, to begin with, I think it was a little bit blown out of proportion. I think it didn't really need this much like publicity, and I think even apparently like the mom of the child didn't really have a problem with it until after when everyone's like, "Oh, this is racist. How come they have this black guy in this
That's
shirt?"
news to me. So her
Ye-
mom said that was fine.
Yeah, in a tweet or I think it was an Instagram post actually. One of the two, and that's why I don't know if it's like I don't want to say it's not a big deal, but like in this circumstance, if somebody else was wearing, if a different color was wearing that shirt, like if we took a white guy and put him in that shirt, it would have been left alone.
Well, yeah, of course, because it's not racist towards white people.
Exactly. That's why I think it's a little bit extra. I don't want to say extra, but it's justified why it seems racist.
Wow. See, okay, here's the thing. Do you think if H&M got permission from the mom, should they still have put it out?
If
Knowing
if
yes, go ahead.
if they got permission, I don't see a problem because at the end of the day, the mom is still making the kid is still gonna get money for being in that ad. Then the mom will get it. So she said, "Yeah, I'm okay with it. Everything." She's basically giving her consent that she doesn't believe that it's racism, right?
But knowing that you are a worldwide brand, are you still gonna make that decision?
No, I think I would have done it differently. Like I said, maybe put a different color, not a black kid in that shirt at this time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what H&M was thinking. I don't know who works at H&M's marketing company, or whoever is doing this. But that's my issue with things, right? You have all these people, and you look at every level that might have gone through it, and it's like, did no one at any point say this is not a good idea?
Got you. But maybe in some people's opinion, it did seem racist to them.
But how can you have that many people that work at H&M that all have the same view on that situation? But then the internet blows up when it happens. That means that you guys all think the same, and or someone at the very top must have just been like, it's fine, and then it just goes.
Hmm. Or like you said, they were afraid or they didn't want to state their opinion. Like you said earlier, they're working for this company and they are representing their beliefs or their, I guess, morals. So they didn't want to speak out. Like if we use what you said earlier, and that you shouldn't say like your political stand, your opinion.
No, but that's
Maybe they didn't
different
want.
because that thing, like, I'm not saying that the people who work there should have like stood up in front of the public and said whatever. But when you have that boardroom meeting, hey guys, we're putting out this ad. Anybody against it? No one says anything. In that case, it is your job to say your opinion. I believe all the people that work in that boardroom meeting, that's your job to do something about it. I don't know, H&M, and then also the weekend, if you heard, cut ties with them.
Yeah.
So that's done. I'm super happy for the weekend. I think that was a great decision. But at the same time, if you were working for H&M and then that happened, what would you do?
Me personally, uh, the best option would have been to either leave the work or maybe get like, are we talking about before the shirt went out or like after this whole thing blew up
Okay,
everything?
because there's two different perspectives from it. Let's say you're not a celebrity. You have a part-time job at H&M, and you're working there, and you see the ad. You go home, you see the ad. Next day, when you go into work, are you saying that I quit?
I wouldn't say next day. In my perspective, I wouldn't find it racist. In my perspective. So me personally would
FYI,
be different.
Claude's a black guy. Just saying.
Wow. Me personally, I didn't really see that big of a deal once again. So I think it really depends on you as a person. You're like, but I see how it'd be racist, right?
Yeah.
But like me personally, I don't
What a
think.
capitalist. Just for the money, man. Now, if you were a celebrity and you are in the public eye, you're a black celebrity, would you cut ties with H&M?
Definitely, because any ties to them right now, they're getting bad press, bad everything. It would affect you
Yeah.
since you're working with them and whatnot. So I think Weekend made a good choice to cut ties.
And the thing is, the Weekend doesn't do interviews or any like publicity, right? So there's not really much ways for him to justify that because he doesn't like doing interviews, doesn't like going on, higher level platforms and all that. So I mean, it's good that he did that. Now going forward, if a company does something racist, what should we as people do?
Well, I definitely think we should stand up or at least query. Ask how did this happen? I would think us as a people, we would have to stand up for what we believe in and what we think is right and wrong.
In what way though? Like, do you think we should just, I don't know, boycott the company? Because that didn't happen to anybody.
That's true. But I don't know. I think you could go about it in a more peaceful way, like maybe going to talk to them, a group, a committee or something,
Would
going
they
in,
listen?
talking to them.
Would they listen though?
If you get enough and to see how it blows up now and you get enough supporters and whatnot, they would definitely listen. But if it was a small thing and not much people are supporting you, like three of you are going and telling them, okay, we find this racist and whatnot, you don't have the support, I don't think they wouldn't listen. They wouldn't.
But it's such a big company, regardless of how big, unless the protest is all of America, why would you care?
Because, like, but once again, bad press. They don't want bad press. Nobody wants bad press. Everyone wants like good press. Everyone wants to be heard about in a good way, and not seen as racist or doing these bad things.
But if all press is good press, does it really matter?
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't really think that applies to H&M though. Do you think anyone, especially like black people, do you think they stopped shopping at H&M?
No, I don't think. I don't think so.
I went 2 days later.
Especially with those deals after 80% off. I'm pretty sure people still went.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's actually, I actually find that worse of a decision because that's kind of
How
just
so?
taking advantage of the situation. Now you're just gonna get a crazy amount of people coming in because of the sale. I mean, it's a pretty sneaky business cover up, but like morally, that's just, I don't know. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not about that.
So you think they were buying their forgiveness? I guess you could say, or like trying to buy back forgiveness.
They just bought happiness. And if I don't know if most people live by the whole idea, money doesn't buy happiness. Well, it kind of does. That just happened. You just took the internet from being hella pissed to hella fine. And now you think about it, compared to a premium brand. Because I saw this meme on WorldStar, and I was like, this is so true. What if Gucci did the same thing?
I think the same thing would happen. Most people, especially 80% off with Gucci brand name,
Yeah.
anything. 80% off of that, bare people would go.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
why would you give that up? That's a perfect deal. And I don't know what H&M's planning to do. The thing is, H&M's fine, man. They're chill. That happened before Boxing Day, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and even if it did, when I went to Boxing Day, there was a billion people there. Ain't nobody gonna stop shopping at H&M. And are people gonna stop watching ESPN?
No.
Maybe some people.
Maybe a few, but even to that, they would probably be watching it on like streaming, like Twitch or YouTube or something like that. Maybe they won't get the television views anymore.
Well, that's my beef with these big companies too. It's like, imagine if I said something racist on this podcast, I can't go out. I would just be like done in an instant. But if I had 5 million viewers every day, or 5 million listeners, which is like more than any other podcast, I would get impeached. Like people would go over it for like a week, and then it's gone. Do you think there should be more repercussions for bigger companies?
Yeah, I think there should be maybe a consequence or something. But at the end of
Monetary? Like they gotta pay.
but wouldn't that be kind of like they're
The
buying their
money
way?
buying happy,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I don't think that would work.
So how do you hurt a company?
When it's so big, it's really hard.
I don't even think it's possible. If business is money, then and if you don't want to go monetary ways where you just want to make them pay money, there's no other way that you can stop a company from doing its thing. That's the difference between business and politics. Um, but yeah, any last words about this whole shit? ESPN.
At the end of the day, when a company is so big, it's really hard for them to get penalized for any controversy or racism slurs or anything like that. It's really hard.
Ain't nothing gonna happen to those guys. Anyway, this concludes our podcast for this week. Make sure to follow us on SoundCloud, and you can follow us on Instagram, at Twitter, at ArtistBlockPod. If you want to request a topic or if you want to come up here, make sure to email us at artistblockpod@gmail.com. Claude, where can they find you?
At Ninja Claudio on Instagram.
You can find me at Imaad.jm on Instagram or ImaadJM on Twitter. And that's all for this week. See you guys next time.